Wise and eternal God, we thank you once again for allowing us to be into your house one more time. We thank you for our life, health, and strength, Father. We thank you for protecting us from danger seen and unseen. And Lord, we ask that you forgive us for any sins that we committed. Lord, we ask that you would decrease us and increase you, so that we may live better, walk better, talk better, and serve better than we ever had before. We ask that you will bless those who are here, those who may be on the way, and those that desire to be here and couldn't, and also those who will be watching. And Lord, we just thank you and praise you for all that you do and who you are. And we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All right, so normally we have coming out the Bible study book, but we have another book called YPWW called Young People Willing Workers. And so the lesson's going to come out of that tonight. The lesson 3, which is titled Momentum. Coming from 1 Samuel chapter 17, verses 45 through 53. This is a familiar chapter because this is talking about pretty much David and Goliath. And so the aim of this lesson is to identify that a winning team has positive momentum.
Okay. That was 1 Samuel 17?
Yes, sir.
Thank God for easy boy. Where's my big tail off? Big man, bro.
So our memory verse will be coming from 1 Samuel 17:45, which reads, David said to the Philistine, you come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. So it's intro. I'll read the intro and then we'll go into the lesson. Momentum is the excelling force or speed that a person or thing has when moving. It may begin when walking toward a goal, increasing to a light jog, and soon running or sprinting to the finish line. Momentum is motivation that drives you to go higher, do better, or press forward. The story of David and Goliath is a favorite classic among generations. Most people focus upon the size of a smaller person, bringing a bigger giant down. Even major companies and big corporations like to glean from the lesson shared. Let us focus upon another aspect of the lesson learned from a team perspective. A shepherd, David, shows great momentum when defeating the giant, Goliath. Because of his momentum, he motivates others into defeating the rest of the Philistine army. And so as our intro says that momentum is what drives you. Once you get momentum, usually you can keep going and going and going. But we also have to be wary of those things that stop our momentum. Think about when you first get saved, you're excited, you're on fire, and then it seems like after a while, some people start slowing down. And it's real easy we let the issues of life to slow us down from serving God the way we should. It could be bills, it could be family problems, it could be death in the family, loss of job, loss of finances, just everything that gets into the way of us giving God our all. It's not that we doubt God, but we are human. And we do worry about those things because that's how we were raised. We were raised to take care of our families and make sure we're taking care of business. But if you haven't figured out through life, everything doesn't go according to plan. No one plans to get fired. No one plans to, lose this or lose that. No one plans for their children to get sick. No one plans for their parents to die, even though we know it happens one day. But these things just happen out of the blue. And some people, when it happens, they don't handle it in a way that the Lord wants us to handle it. Especially with death. Even around here, we've had a lot of deaths lately. Close family members, sisters, and even First Lady's mom had passed away Monday or so. But when those things happen, they come out of the blue. You can't plan for it, you can't prepare for it, you can't say, I know it's going to happen on this day, so let me brace myself. It all happens out of the blue. And we want to mourn those people, but we don't want those things to stop us completely from living the life that God has ordained us to live. but where we're no good to anyone else and no good to ourselves either. And so in this lesson from this chapter 17, this is when Saul and the Israelites are going to war, and they're fighting against the Philistines, and they have a champion named Goliath. And so, and he's a big bad dude, because this man is 9 feet tall, he's strong as ever, he's like nothing you've ever seen. And so as we go through the lesson, we'll read it, and then we'll see that sometimes you need someone who has an established relationship with the Lord to come and get you back on track. So we know that, we want to get our attention to where we can handle things, and we know that the Lord is on our side. But it never hurts to have someone with a little more experience and may have a greater relationship to show you how to handle these problems, or to handle something for you to make you stronger to where you can help someone else also. So we're reading from verse 1, reading out of the NIV, a little bit easier to understand. One thing, if you don't understand the Word of God, it really doesn't do you any good.
Amen.
So that's why you like different translations, because it's got to be put down to where you can get it, to where you can understand it. And so reading from verse 1. Now the Philistines gathered their forces of war and assembled at Socoh and Judah. They pitched camp at Ephes-dammim between Socoh and Azekah. Saul and the Israelites assembled and camped in the valley of Elah and drew up their battle line to meet the Philistines. The Philistines occupied one hill and the Israelites another, with the valley between them. A champion named Goliath, who was from Gath, came out from the Philistine camp. His height was 6 cubits in a span, which equaled up to, I think it was 9 feet 9 inches. If the math was correct. He had a bronze helmet on his head and wore a coat of scale armor of bronze weighing 5,000 shekels. And the weight of that equaled up to 156 pounds and 4 ounces. So you got to be a pretty big dude if you're walking around with a 156-pound jacket.
Yeah.
So on his legs, he wore bronze greaves, and a bronze javelin was slung on his back. His spear shaft was like a weaver's rod, and his iron point weighed 600 shekels. And I think that totaled up to 18 pounds, 12 ounces. So not only was this a big guy, you imagine you carrying a javelin with a spearhead that big. So he was no one to mess with. Let's see. And a bronze javelin was slung. Let's see. Weaver's rod. His shield bearer went ahead of him. Goliath stood and shouted to the ranks of Israel, "Why do you come out and line up for battle? Am I not a Philistine? And are you not the servants of Saul? Choose a man and have him come down to me. If he is able to fight and kill me, we will become your subjects. But if I overcome him and kill him, you will become our subjects and serve us." Then the Philistines said, "This day I defy the armies of Israel. Give me a man and let us fight each other." On hearing the Philistines' words, Saul and the Israelites were dismayed and terrified. And one thing you have to understand about the Lord, especially about life in general, if you're in a leadership position, the leader can't be afraid. Because if the leadership is afraid, the people are going to be afraid also. Saw evidence of that in Nehemiah where, I think it was Talbot and Sanballat, I think we're mixing the names, where they hired people to go talk to Nehemiah to get him to go hide in the temple because of the threats they were making about coming to attack him. But it said that Nehemiah perceived that this person wasn't of God, that he was hired, by his enemies. So if Nehemiah goes and hides in the temple, no one else is going to stand outside and work while he's in the temple. They're going to stop working and they're going to go hide too. So when you're in a leadership position, you have to be a good courage. That's why I think what the Lord especially told Joshua, said, be strong and courageous. You have to be strong and courageous if you're going to serve God, because there are all kinds of things in this world that go against the word and the will of God. But that's why the Bible calls us to be steadfast. We will see in this lesson that David was someone who was steadfast. The Lord himself said he was a person that wasn't going to relent. So when the Lord gave him instruction to do, he was going to carry it out. And so hopefully we'll become people that will do the same thing if we're not there already. So, verse 12. Now David was the son of an Ephraimite named Jesse, who was from Bethlehem in Judah. Jesse had 8 sons, and in Saul's time he was very old. Jesse's 3 oldest sons had followed Saul to war. The first was Eliab, the second Abinadab, and the third Shammah. David was the youngest. The 3 oldest followed Saul. But David went back and forth from Saul to tend to his father's sheep at Bethlehem. So David was going to the army and going back to tend to his sheep. It also tells that, because we understand that in the chapter before, it tells us that David was not only a mighty man of valor, but he was a man of war. So David had some experiences that everybody else didn't know about. But, in our chapter it explains, what David has been through and what the Lord has done for him. Okay, 16. For 40 days the Philistines came forth every morning and every evening and took his stand. Now Jesse the son of David, Jesse said to his son David, take this ephah of roasted grain and these 10 loaves of bread for your brothers and hurry to their camp. Take along these 10 cheeses to the commander of their unit. See how your brothers are and bring back some assurance from them. They are with Saul and all the men of Israel in the valley of Elah, fighting against the Philistines. Early in the morning, David left the flock in the care of a shepherd, loaded up and set out, as Jesse directed. He reached the camp as the army was going out to its battle positions, shouting the war cry. Israel and the Philistines were drawing up their lines facing each other. David left his things with the keeper of supplies, ran to the battle lines, and asked his brothers how they were. As he was talking to them, Goliath, the Philistine champion from Gath, stepped out from his lines and shouted his usual defiance, and David heard it. Whenever the Israelites saw the man, they all fled from him in great fear. Now the Israelites had been saying, do you see how this man keeps coming out? He comes out to defy Israel. The king will give great wealth to the man who kills him. He will also give him his daughter in marriage and will exempt his family from taxes in Israel. David asked the man standing near him, what will be done for the man who kills the Philistine and removes this disgrace from Israel? Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God? They repeated to him what they had been saying and told him, this is what will be done for the man who kills him. When Eliab, David's oldest brother, hearing him speak with the men, he burned with anger at him and asked, why have you come down here? Or with whom did you leave those few sheep in the wilderness? I know how conceited you are and how wicked your heart is. You came down only to watch the battle. Now we know that's a lie because the Lord tells us that David was a man after his own heart. So that was far from the truth for him. And 29. What have I done? Said David. Can't I even speak? He then turned away to someone else and brought up the same matter. And the man answered him as before. What David said was overheard and reported to Saul, and Saul sent for him. Now realize that everyone's been speaking at this time about Goliath, and they've been speaking in terms of fear. But David comes down and speaks with no fear. So when you have people who are scared in a situation, you need someone to speak with confidence. You need someone who's going to put that reassurance back in you to make you understand that what you're facing is not as bad as it seems. And his comments were, who was this that dare defies the armies of the living God? So David speaks of this matter is not that it's against him. He's pretty much on fire because this giant stands up and defies God. And when you're doing things, what is your motive for when you do things? Like it told us about what Saul would give to the man who did it. That wasn't David's concern. His concern was, why is this guy speaking against the living God? And why is he going against the living God's armies? So motive is really important when you're doing things. Because if you're doing things with a godly motive, God will be with you.
Amen.
When you're doing things for your own selfish motive, then, the chips will fall where they may. And so, 32. David said to Saul, "Let no one lose heart on account of this Philistine. Your servant will go and fight him." Once again, speaking in confidence. Everyone else is in fear. If you're scared of this, don't worry. Your servant will go and handle this. Will handle this for you. Saul replied, "You are not able to go out against the Philistine and fight him. You are only a youth. You are only a young man, and he has been a warrior from his youth." Isn't it interesting that even though he's a young man, most people make the mistake of realizing that if you're young or you don't look the part, that they don't think that you can handle the task at hand. Remember where Paul was telling Timothy, don't let anybody treat you any kind of way because of your youth, because you were equipped to do what the Lord has for you to do. And that 1 Timothy 4-12, he tells them pretty much don't have a timid spirit, because the spirit that the Lord gave you is not of fear. And so it doesn't matter how young you are, it doesn't matter how you look, because God uses those who are undesirable. That's the thing we love about God, is that he doesn't care about looks. He doesn't care about appearance. Like I said earlier, he cares about the heart. If you have a heart after God, God will use you regardless of what's going on. And he will get glory out of what you do. Because the one thing we understand about the Lord is he doesn't need much to do a lot. All he just needs is someone who's willing to follow directions and willing to give him what they have. And he'll come up big every time. And so, David, in verse 34, but David said to Saul, "Your servant has been keeping his father's sheep. When a lion or a bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock, I went after it, struck it, and rescued the sheep from its mouth. When it turned on me, I seized it by its hair, struck it, and killed it. Your servant has killed both the lion and the bear. This uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them, because he has defiled the armies of the living God. The Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will rescue me from the hand of this Philistine." Saul said to David, "Go and let the Lord be with you." Now you find out some more about David, why David is not afraid of this Philistine giant. Because once you've killed a lion and you killed the bear, what is a man to you?
Amen. Especially a lion.
Yes. And killed it, pretty much grabbed it by the beard. That was up close and personal.
Yeah.
So not only has he done it, he made sure to let them know that it was the Lord who rescued him out of it. That it was not by his power or his might, but by the Lord that he was able to take down his lion. And by the Lord, he was able to take down his bear. And it's by the help of the Lord that he's going to take down this Philistine giant also. And so what we need to remember is not our power, our might, our intelligence. It matters nothing. If the Lord is not with you, you will fall. Amen. No matter how much you think you got it in check or you think you can handle it, we can be taken out by anything if the Lord is not on our side. This is why in our previous lessons we've been stressing to understand that if you are with the Lord is with you. And when you know you're with the Lord and the Lord is with you, everyone around you will see that the Lord is with you. He's not going to keep himself a secret. It's going to either come by through the favor you have from other people, by doors opening up you never thought would, by people fighting battles for you that you didn't even know were being fought. Like you getting raises on jobs you didn't even know you were up for. And things like that, because the Lord has placed favor on you and placed favor for you in the hearts of other people to where they're willing to go the extra mile for you. And this is the thing about we want to understand about the Lord, is that the Lord wants to bless us, but he's only going to do it in the way he's ordained. That's why we have to be in one with him. There's a difference between, think about the Israelites when they were out in the wilderness. There's a difference between that generation that was stuck in the wilderness because they didn't believe God, and the ones that got to go into the promised land and enjoy what the Lord wanted to give them. Now, we have to decide which side do we want to be on. It all comes through obedience and putting our faith in the Lord. If the Lord says you can have it, go get it. Don't worry about what's over there. Don't worry about the obstacles that are in the way, because they forgot the same Lord that brought them out of Egypt, the same Lord that brought them across the Red Sea, is the same Lord that's going to be with them when they're going in and facing those giants that they said that they were grasshoppers in their own eyes. And so we have to understand, we have to know who we are and realize that the Lord is with us. And understand that how you view yourself. You know, others may have a different view of you, but if you see yourself small, you're going to come up small. But if you see yourself as worthy through God, that God's going to be with you and you will get the victory. You know, just in that same situation, they didn't find out until they talked to Rahab the harlot, that from the moment they came out of Egypt and they heard what the Lord did to Pharaoh and his army, that their hearts melted and they knew they couldn't stand up to it. They said they couldn't do anything against their God. Now, it's interesting that God doesn't tell you all of this. He just says, trust him. He's already had things worked out for them before they even got there. All they had to do was just believe God and walk in and take care of business and claim what the Lord had for them. But many times we get in our disobedience, or we get in our fear and our doubt, and we end up losing out on what God has for us. And so our mission is we don't want to miss out on anything the Lord has for us. You know, any blessing that the Lord wants to do for you, wants to do through you, wherever he wants to take you or elevate you to, we want you to experience those things, because that's only going to help other people. It's just like, you know, David's situation. We don't know, even though David was out with the sheep by himself, and through the Psalms we know that he was talking to the Lord and he was being developed, and the Lord was with him. You don't know why the Lord is doing those things for you, why he has you in these situations, until the situation comes to where he's using you to help a problem out for somebody else. And so we have to be prepared as Christians ourselves, as believers, to where we can speak edifying words to people, to where we can light a fire where there isn't one, where we can remove doubt where there is, to where we let people know that the same Lord that's blessing me will bless you. The same Jesus that died for me, died for you. He loves me, he loves you. Our paths are different, our callings are different. But either way it goes, he wants to elevate you from what you are now. This isn't who you truly are. You're only going to find out who you truly are through Jesus. You're only going to find out who you truly are by getting in touch with the Lord and finding out what his will is for your life, and letting him lead you and guide you, and let him work through you to touch other people. You know, the world has a look for what they want you to be, and God has something, what he has designed, what he's called you to be. And so the only way you're going to live up to that calling is you got to find out, one, what your calling is, and two, go to the Lord and let him direct you and guide you, so that you're effective, and not just in the calling to where you're effective, to where you're touching people and you're making sure that God's getting the glory that he deserves. And so, where we at? David, okay. Then Saul, 38, then Saul dressed David in his own tunic. He put a coat of armor on him and bronze helmet on his head. David fastened on his sword over the tunic and tried walking around, because he was not used to them. I cannot go in these, he said to Saul, because I am not used to them. So he took them off. Then he took his staff in his hand, chose five smooth stones from the stream, put them in the pouch of the shepherd's bag, and with his sling in his hand, approached the Philistine. Now, David didn't rely on using Saul's armor to go fight Goliath. He can only do working what he had. And so if this armor wasn't good enough for Saul to go out and go against the Goliath, why would David want to use that same armor? Something he's not used to, something that was not specified for him. You know, that's why we have to walk in the anointing that we have. You know, you can only get this job accomplished with the gifts that you have. You know, if you don't have the gift to sing, if singing is not your thing, don't go around trying to sing. I mean, you can sing to the Lord in private, but don't go around trying to get a concert going, and you know that's not a gift that the Lord gave him. You're out of your anointing. And if you don't think so, people will let you know. And so, like I said, we just got to use what we have. Whatever we're good at, whatever gifting we have, let's develop in those things, and let's make sure that we're using those things to the glory of God. And so, he looked David over in verse 42, and saw that he was a little more than a boy, born with health and handsome, and he despised him. And that's no different today. When people see you looking good, they'll just hate you, don't even know you. You ain't got to do much for people just to dislike you. And so he said to David, am I a dog that you come at me with sticks And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. Come here, he said, and I'll give your flesh to the birds and the wild animals. David said to the Philistine, you come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defiled. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hands, and I'll strike you down and cut off your head. This very day I will give the carcasses of the Philistine army to the birds and the wild animals, and the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel. So if we had any question about David's motive, that's his motive right there. He was going to take you down to let them know that there is a God in Israel. And we're going to do things to let people know that there is a God who sits high on the throne. That regardless of what you do, he's in control. You only just think you're in control.
Amen.
You know, a lot of people think they're running things, but they're only doing what the Lord allows.
Amen.
Because God can put a stop to it at any time.
Yes, he can.
And so, okay. What was it? Okay. Number 47. All those gathered here will know that it is not by sword or spear that the Lord saves, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give all of you into our hands. As the Philistines moved closer to attack him, David ran quickly toward the battle line to meet him. Now, when you know the Lord's on your side, you don't have to creep towards it. You ran at his challenges. You know, that's what, if you think about the armor of God, you know we have the helmet, the breastplate, we have the belt, the sandals, we have this, the sword. But you notice that there's no armor on your back? Because God wants you facing your enemy at all times. So we're not going about this as fear. We're facing our enemy at all times, and we're heading toward him. So once we get this revelation, Christians shouldn't be afraid of the devil. The devil should be afraid of them.
Amen.
Because he has limited power, but our power is through God. And for what we know, the devil has not been able to defeat God, regardless of what he does. The Lord has given us the weapons. He's given us his word to fight with. We just got to utilize those things to have faith in it. That yes, we'll come out with some bruises, but we're still going to be standing. And so we have to just trust in what the Lord has given us and understand that he's already been defeated. Why are you scared of somebody who's been defeated? If you keep listening to the suggestions and the lies he gives you, yeah, he's trying to get you off track, but this is why the Lord tells us to keep our minds on those things above. This is why he tells us about our children to meditate on the Word of God. Tell them about the Word of God in the morning on the roadside. Tell them about it at night, to where it's a constant reminder to you that when those things come up, you can always go back to the Word. This is why we read and try to get the Word in. It's to where when our enemy tells us those things, or when fear and doubt comes in, faith will meet it, and you'll let faith talk to you. Because there are times when you can say something, and you won't even get the sentence finished, and a scripture will come up, and faith will be restored. You might say, I don't know why I'm doing this. Nobody don't care anyway. And then you might hear, don't be weary and well doing. Remind you that you're on the right path. Just keep going.
Yeah.
That's what faith does. When fear shows up, faith comes, knocks at the door, fear disappears. And so we don't want to operate in fear, because fear will hold up our momentum. And once we get going, we want to keep this thing going like a snowball. It starts off little. But as it keeps rolling, keeps going, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's how our walk with the Lord is. We might start off slow, but it gets bigger and bigger. And if we do get off track, let's go to the Lord, let's deal with that problem, and let's get back on the road that we were. You get off the highway, you pull to the side of the road, we deal with what we got to deal with, let's get back on the road and keep going on our journey so that we can finish this race that we're on. Okay, so 49. Reaching into his bag and taking out a stone, he slung it and struck the Philistine on the forehead. The stone sank into his forehead, and he fell face down on the ground. So David triumphed over the Philistine with a sling and a stone. Without a sword in his hand, he struck down the Philistine and killed him. David ran and stood over him. He took hold of the Philistine's sword and drew it from his sheath. After he killed him, he cut off his head with the sword. When the Philistines saw that their hero was dead, they turned and ran. Then the men of Israel and Judah surged forward with a shout and pursued the Philistines to the entrance of Gath and to the gates of Ekron. the dead were strewn along the Shammering road to Gath and Ekron. Now, one thing you notice about the weapons of God, they say they're not carnal, but they're not always extravagant. You know, David went against Goliath with pretty much a stick, some rocks, and a sling. And so you're going to really have to be in faith to understand that kind of warfare. To where, you know, you would think, I'm going against this person, I need a gun or something. A bazooka or rocket launcher or something. But no, just simple weapons. But anything in the Lord's hands becomes powerful. More powerful than you could ever imagine. And so that's why people shouldn't have to worry about what they don't have and what they're lacking. Because what you have is enough.
It's like that staff that Moses had.
Mm-hmm.
That staff became a powerful weapon in his hand.
Yes, sir. They say you just got to use what you got.
Use what you got.
You know, and even the Lord asked him that question when he was telling them what he don't have. He said, what is that in your hand? Throw it down. Let me show you what it can be when you give it over to me. And that's the same thing with us. When we give ourselves over to the Lord, what will we become? You know, what can he do through us? You know, what will the Lord use us to do to handle things in other people's lives? Because think about it. Everybody has faced some kind of giant in their life that they have struggled to deal with, and you may have needed the help of someone else to get over it. So what is the Goliath you're dealing with? And then when the Lord sends someone to help you, don't look at them because they don't look the part. Because we know that Jesus was, even his look, he was someone that said, the Bible said he was undesirable. But you can't go by appearances. God looks at heart. You can't go by appearances. If that person's here and they have that relationship with the Lord, let them come and do what they do. Because you'll learn a lot from, especially from little kids. You know, don't discard them because they're little, don't think they know what they're talking about. They know a lot more than you give them credit for, especially nowadays. And so, you know, and I think a lot of people make that mistake too, because you don't look at things that they pray to the Lord for, are sitting right in front of their faces. They just don't realize it because it doesn't have the look that they want. You know, think about how even when Samuel went to anoint David to be king, he was looking through his brothers and looked at, I think it was Eliab was the oldest one. He said, this has to be the one because he looked the part. But the Lord told him, said, He said, man, look at the appearance, but I look at the heart. And so when he noticed that the Lord had picked none of them, he asked Jesse if he had another son. And he told him, said, well, David, but he's out in the field. He said, go get him because we can't go any further until he's here. And once he comes here, the Lord let him know this is the one. Out of all of them, the one that you wouldn't have thought he'd have picked. His own father didn't even pick him. But this is the man, this is the one that God chose to use. So, you know, we can't do that with people. We can't discard them because of how they look or where they come from, because like I said, God uses anybody. And you never know who he may use one or who he may want to raise up to work through, just because they don't look the part, or maybe they're not even acting the part right now. I mean, Paul was like that once upon a time too. He was having Christians killed, and God said, that's my chosen man.
Yeah.
Everybody else we would have killed him, but the man we would have killed, God said, that's him. The Lord said, that's him. That's the one I'm going to use. I'm going to show him what he has to suffer for my name's sake. And so, and even once upon a time, we might have been that way too, where somebody might have looked at us and kind of gave up on us because of how we used to act and the things we used to do. But if it wasn't for the grace of God, by having somebody look at us and seeing that we were more than what we were, but not looking at us based on what our actions are, but what we could become. And they prayed for us, they tried to talk to us, and eventually we got it through our heads that, they are trying to help us, and so, and that's what happens with a lot of people. Eventually the light bulb comes on, and they say, you know what am I doing? I'm doing all this stuff, this crazy stuff, this ain't getting me nowhere. And, there's no timetable on when it happens. Some people get it sooner, some people get it later.
Amen.
But we still have to be in a position where we're still talking and we're still edifying those people to let them know they are more than what they are. This isn't life. This isn't what you were here to do. Yeah, you're acting up right now, but the Lord has something greater for you. As long as you stop trying to do things your way and start trying to do things his way, he'll reveal that to you and he'll show you what your real purpose is here. And we can use that to go, once we reach somebody, they can go reach other people that we don't come in contact with also. And so, but also notice that It took David taking down their giant to where they all became upbeat now. Now everybody is willing to fight. But as long as that giant was there, they were caught up in fear. But once that fear is removed, then the tide of the battle shifted. Where the Philistines had all the momentum, now because David has taken down their champion, they're all turning and running. And now the Israelites are now full of strength and joy, and now they're chasing after them, and they end up defeating them. And that's the same thing with us. That's why we have to get those things out of our life, those footholds that are in us. That once we get them out, then we can go forward and start tackling the other things and start helping other people. Because we can't help other people until we help ourselves first.
Amen.
You know, it's just like the bag on an airplane. When it says make sure your bag is on first before you help someone else's. So we have to make sure that we're in a point where we are strong enough to help them. To where they can go out and help other people, or in turn help us when we get caught up also. You know, they would say iron sharpens iron.
That's right.
And that's why we're all here. We're all here to help each other. We're not here to talk about each other, not criticize each other, or I'm more saved than you or anything. We're all in this together. Because I guarantee you, the same devil that tried to get you, the same one that tried to get me, regardless of whether you sitting in the pulpit or you sitting outside in the pew. He ain't got no respect of it. We're all in this together. So the shepherd, that's like the shepherd with the sheep. When it rains on the sheep, it rains on the shepherd too.
Yeah.
They're in the cold, he's in the cold. He or she's in the cold. So it's just, and we have to get that realization that it's not, we shouldn't be against each other. We're all here to police each other, to help each other. Because we all need prayers. You know, you believe in the Lord and you know your prayers, you believe your prayers get through, pray for me. Just like the same thing, we're praying for you. You know, we all want to see the best for each other. That's what I said earlier. We want to see what the Lord has in store for you. We want you to experience that. We want you to have that. We want you to go through life and don't miss out on anything that the Lord has wanted to do through you or do for you. And that's the thing. And we have to be able to do that and not get jealous when the Lord does those things. To be happy because that's the goal. Now, those are the people you really want to be around. Those who want to see you do good, who want to see the Lord bless you and provide for you and open up doors, and they're happy just seeing that, even if they feel like it should have been happening for them, or they didn't experience it. But the fact that the Lord is doing it for you, well, at least we know the Lord's still answering prayers.
Amen.
He's still opening doors. He's still healing. He's still delivering. So we can take, that's where we get our reward from that. Reward from watching the Lord transform someone's life they were living like this a year ago, but you can see a difference in it now. You know, that should make us happy.
Yes.
That's the goal, because Lord, do it for me too. Because if he's going to use me to do it for one person, well, Lord, use me to do it for another. Let's keep this thing going. He said the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. It's a lot of work to do. So, you know, wherever you want me to harvest, let's go. And so, really, that's pretty much the lesson. But just remind us that momentum, you know, like we'll get things going, but we have to take care of those things that slow us down. Or we have to be aware when we see someone else going through it. Let's let the Lord use us to help get them back on track also. Because, like I said, it can happen at any time, anywhere. But we can't let those things hold us down to keep us from doing what the Lord will have us to do. And so, whether it's just your spiritual life, your secular life, on your job, or anything like that, just don't let those things get you down. Don't let those things take you off of the mission that you're here for. Don't let those things keep us from forgiving people that we don't want to forgive, or helping people that we know we should be helping, but I don't really like them like that, or anything like that. To take our personal feelings out of it, to take all the fear and doubt out of it, and just say, I'm here for this. This is what I'm here to do. Because for most people, you are the Jesus that they're going to see. You are the Bible that they read. But you do with a lot of people who they know of God, but they don't know God. And that's where it's up to us to show them how the Father is, to show them how Jesus is, not through us talking, but how we live.
Can I say something?
Sure.
I remember, Brother Quinn, last week that I was out working, doing some ministry work, and my friend John, he's a white guy, he came to speak with me.
Mm-hmm.
So he was speaking to the people and everything, and we was done, because I had just preached and he did a little speaking. And I was rolling up the wires getting ready to go with no equipment. And this old white lady came by, I said, Pastor, will you pray for me? So John was right there. So I just said, go pray for her. And she stopped, looked me dead in the face and said, it doesn't matter which one of you guys pray for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I put down the words and said, ma'am, I'm very sorry. Because I'm so used to having someone else just go pray for them real quick, other staff. And I thought to myself, Lord, if I got this stuck up that I can't say these words, because that's why I started it, praying with you. I said, if I get like that, then I don't stop to pray with you no more. You know what I mean? It was just a reminder. It's just like a little, not a smack, just a taste to wake you up. Hey man, where you at? Where are you at? And I think that's what happened today to Saul. When he's supposed to be the king, he's supposed to be the first one on the battlefield. But he sent out David, a little boy to go do. He called him young, well, take my arm to do my work. But I need to be doing. I need to be facing the giant. But since you want to go, you go ahead. You understand? And we find ourselves backing up when we should be going forward. I like what you said. David, he ran to the giant. He was running into battle.
That's why we gotta make sure that if we're too busy to do the work of the Lord, we're too busy. So, like I say, you get caught up in it, you don't think much of it because it's routine, you're wrapping up, you're ready to go.
Yeah.
But, it's, like I said, it's a reminder, it's something to keep you mindful of that when someone asks for prayer, this can wait. Let's go take care of that right now. And we can get back to this, we can wrap this up anytime, but prayer, if they ask me for prayer, we gotta pray right now.
Yep.
So it made that habit of people when they say, well, pray, people say, well, pray for me. We'll say, well, are you busy? You pray right now. Because I ain't gonna wait till later. If you hear you asking for prayer, let's get this prayer going right now.
Sir.
We'll bring you to the presence of the Lord right now.
I had to repent and ask God to forgive me for that. But that thing stuck with me like peanut butter and jelly.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I can't believe it. I said, what was I thinking? It used to not always be like that. I used to be always ready to get out, But then after a while, so much ministry, so moving so fast, this, you do this for me, you do this, you do this.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what happened to me, man? What happened?
It's just, I think it's routine. Because, once you do start doing something long enough, it's kind of like second nature. Like, you're so used to having somebody else go do it. Like, oh, they ain't pray? Yeah, you go pray for them. Instead of realizing that they didn't ask them, they asked you.
Yeah.
So,
that was blew out the water. I wasn't even thinking.
yeah, but that's why we have to pay attention to those moments because, it doesn't take a lot for the Lord to get your attention. Once you notice that, okay, all right, Lord, thank you. Give me back focus on why I'm here. Yeah, this is good. I'm thankful for the equipment and everything else, but when someone has that need for prayer, everything, I have to stop and attend to this because you would.
Yeah.
You would drop everything. If someone asked for prayer, you would drop everything and go attend to their needs, so I have to do the same thing too. And so, but like I said, it's just something, it keeps us in mindful that it helps us be more effective than what we are. Because it would be the last thing we want to do is come here, we give a message or something and then someone asks for prayer and we don't attend to it and we miss out on something that the Lord wanted to do for them right then and there. Or maybe He wanted to answer their prayer right then and there, but we're too busy with our own thing. Like you said, that's a lot of problem with the world. We're too busy doing our own thing that when people need that from us, that either we're too tired or too this and that we don't put ourselves in a position where we can give that to them. Because chances are they may not be getting that from anybody else. So we have to understand that when they call on that, what we have that prayer or to strengthen that relationship that they have, that we have to be there. And we have to do it.
I remember a time when I first started out, many years ago. I think I've been in ministry now maybe 19 years.
Mm-hmm.
Not long. That's not long for the business. But I got about 19 years in the business. And I used to carry around this briefcase, not like this one, it was bigger than this one. I used to carry this oil. I had got the oil from the pulpit.
Mm-hmm.
And I pulled it in this little bottle. And I used to carry it around and always take it, put it on people, and be praying for them. And that's what made me think that last week, when the lady said, did you pray for me, Pastor? And I said, I told my buddy, just like that. And it's just like the Spirit hit me back and reminded me of all these things. remember when you was a prayer man, when you used to grab your little oil, you couldn't wait. You know, you was shaking the bottle. You ever got that cross on the head, you know? What happened to that? And that's why I said, Lord, forgive me. Because I never want to grow like that. I never want to grow like I'm, you know, it's all about me. Because the battle is not mine, it's God's. You know what I'm saying? And I gotta keep grounded, man. Keep grounded. You know, don't think it's you. You know, because God will bless you and you forget who is the blessing. You think it's all you then. You know what I'm saying? And that's what my mind was like.
I think what was it? I think it was the Revelations where God was talking, the Lord was talking to the church at, I think it was Ephesus, where he was like, he commended them on what they were doing, but he said they forgot their first love because things got into a routine and he wanted them to get back. So it's just kind of, that's what that reminded me of. So
But I
we
think
get
you're
into,
talking about when you're naked.
no, we're talking about, let me pull
Was
it
that
up.
Sardis?
Let me
It
make
was
sure.
the 7 churches. Philadelphia was the love one.
Which, yeah, I'm trying to remember, which one was it where, I want to say Ephesus, let me check, find it.
How we know what you're talking about? Yeah.
Yeah, the church at, Revelation 2, the church at Ephesus,
Yeah, you forgot.
or Ephesians, maybe that was saying wrong. To where he said, I know your deeds, your hard work, and your perseverance. I know that you cannot tolerate wicked people, that you have tested those who claim to be apostles but are not, and have found them false. You have preserved and have endured hardships for my name, and have not grown weary. Yet I hold this against you. You have forsaken the love you had at first. So consider how far you've fallen, repent and do the things you did at first. And saying, if you do not repent, I will come to you and remove your lampshade from its place. But kind of things where, you know, they were doing those things at first, but then they forgot the reason why they were doing it.
Yeah, man.
And so that's my, you know, where we get, as I say, we get into routine and habits and, you know, it's easy to get caught up in it to where you forget, you know, what you used to do at first. And then once things you get, after a while, you're used to somebody else doing it, you don't be mindful of wanting to do that yourself. But that's why, you know, that situation came to remind you that, hey, they asked you for prayer. If they come and ask you, let's go and attend to this need and we can come back to this later.
Yeah.
So just keeping our mind on our love and why we're doing it. So that's what that
I'll
story
share
is
something else
about.
with you real quick too, sir. It's like my wife, she had told me about a week ago. She told me this last week. That's what we hear this week. I hear it. I might not hear you.
Yeah.
Sit down and stop it. Don't mean I ain't hear you when I'm walking. You know. And she said we need to get back to Bible study. Now, like she was saying, all this ministry work is good. We need to get back down to the basic. You know what I'm saying? And I was thinking about that. I think it was on my mind, man. I love ice cream. But I was thinking about that. But she said more than ice cream at the time. You know what I mean? This is where it starts at. Basics.
Because there's one thing when you're feeding people, you need to be fed too. So, you know, you're working here, you're there, you're giving so much of yourself to people that sometimes you need to come down and just sit and, you know, say, like, get back to basics, get back to learn. And maybe you hear something you didn't hear before.
Yeah.
And you didn't know before.
Like
or you
8
get
sons.
Mm-hmm.
I knew he had 3 sons. But then he said, when you took off,
Yeah, he had-
Jesse had 8 sons.
Sons, yeah, but he had 3 that went to, you know, that went to battle.
Right.
But
I
the
didn't know
others-
about the other sons.
Yeah.
I didn't remember that.
Because it didn't really talk about the other sons. You don't really, the time you hear about him when Samuel was going through him trying to find out which one the Lord wanted to anoint as king. And then you find out about, you know, when they went to war, when the 3 oldest ones went to war. But that's the thing about the word is that you read it, you study it, and then it comes up again. You may, instead of saying, well, you know, I already heard that before, you may hear something else that you didn't hear before. And that's where revelation comes, because every time you go through it, you'll see something different. So, you know, that's why you can read the Bible for the rest of your life and never know everything that's in it. And you'll never have all the revelation that's in it, but the Lord will reveal those things to you that you can share with somebody else also.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, like if you think about it, if you teach someone else, if you take what I know and combine it with what you know, you should be better off. You should be. If you apply this knowledge and keep yourself out of trouble. You know, same thing we do with kids. Don't do that. Listen to what I'm telling you. I've already been through this. This is what's going to happen if you do it. Now, if they listen, you keep yourself from a lot of heartache. But if you don't, you're going to find out the same way I did.
Yeah.
And so that's what we do. We're trying, and that's what the thing about teaching and you're preaching things. You're trying to keep people out of situations they don't even need. You know, or trying to get them out of something they got themselves in. Like that. And so, like, if you just listen to us, that's why, like, you know, experience. If you listen to the experience, you'll be fine. But you got some people that'll do it, and some people say, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm gonna go do my own thing. And they say experience is not the best teacher, it's the hardest. So, like I said, we're just trying to make it easier for you. Like, well, I already been through this. I know how this is gonna go. I'm not gonna tell you. I don't have to tell you the whole everything that's gonna happen because the Lord doesn't do it. He just says, don't do it. Well, why, Lord, you say don't do it? And you do it, and you figure out why He tells you not to. Because it hurts. It's more levels to it than what you know. Because it hurts you, could hurt somebody else. You call somebody else to have a different opinion about God, about things you're doing. So you just have to be obedient and say, the Lord says, don't do it, don't do it. Kind of like when you talk about not messing with, like don't mess with your father's wife or your father's sister or things like that. Like you think of it like, well, he doesn't explain it, but then you realize all the problems that have happened because people have done it. They've gone through incest and they've been sexually assaulted and things. Now you got mental issues going along with this too. And like I say, I don't have to go down the whole thing. I'm telling you not to do it. I'm just giving you the short version. Don't do it. But like I say, you're always gonna have people that try it. And then it takes a lot more work to get you back out of it than it did to get you into it. So that's why I say, we have to really be mindful of what the Lord is saying to us, because, like I said, everything's designed to keep you out of trouble. To keep you in a place where the Lord says, well, don't do that, come back, don't serve those guys, come back here. Trying to keep you out of trouble. The Israelites, they kept going back, they kept getting in trouble. The Lord would send Assyrians or Babylonians to capture them and let them stay there for a while, then He would free them, then He would send judges over them to, judge them. And then they would go back through the pattern and do the same thing over and over again. And so we're trying to break people from doing the same thing over and over again to where, aren't you tired of doing this? It's the same result. Nothing's changing. You're doing your own thing. You're going against God. You're getting in trouble. God has to come rescue you just for you to go back and do the same thing again. That's insanity. And so we're trying to, if you just follow what the Lord asks you to do, you don't have to worry about this. So, but like I said, when we deal with those people, you just have to pray for them, and one day they'll get it, because one day we got it. We'll probably
my wife. She's a good teacher. She don't teach like way out like this. Because I asked her one time, get up there and teach. Show them what you got. But she teach like that. She'll wait to teach me. So it's okay.
That's what it is.
Huh?
One day we, like I say, eventually we'll get it. Took me 27 years to get it. So I didn't get saved till I was 27, and there's still things I'm working on now.
I didn't get saved till I was 30.
So yeah. Even though I knew about it and heard it every Sunday, heard it preaching the Lord and stuff, don't worry about that. Had your own things. I give my life to the Lord when I get, after I had all my fun, not knowing that tomorrow ain't promised.
Yeah.
When you're young, you think you're gonna live forever, not you realize that young people are dying every day, younger and younger. So, like I said, if it wasn't for the grace of God, it could have been gone too, but because of His love, grace, and mercy, I'm here. And in all my rebellion, He still gave me a chance. And so that's why we're reaching out to other people that, the Lord's giving you a chance. Every day you wake up, every breath you take, the Lord's giving you the opportunity to come to Him. He's giving you the opportunity to accept Him and let Him show you why He loves you. Let Him show you and open you up to experiences you never had before. To where that relationship comes to where we're all one, where we are one like they were one, like Jesus prayed to the Lord in the Garden of Gethsemane. That we would have that same relationship that He had with the Father, that we would have that with them also. so, but like I said, it takes time because, you know, people gonna do their things, but eventually, you know, that knock on the door comes and they answer. And when the time comes, we rejoice.
It's just like, I got friends, right, at work,
Mm-hmm.
and I try to get them to come, hang out with me sometimes. See, my first thing is to hang out where I hang out, then pull them on to the church. My whole object is to pull them to the church. That's my whole goal, bro.
Mm-hmm.
But, they always counsel. Some of them, you know, get close, but some always counsel. One of them came to church the other night, Northfield, and, it just made my heart so glad, man, that the brother would just come to church. You know what I'm saying? Because to hear the word of God, man, and to accept that in your life, and to know God, and know that you're not going to hell, it makes me feel real good, man. Because if he don't accept it, I mean, I can't tell him to accept it. If the person that you know, you friends with, your buddies, and you know they going to hell, this is what hurts me at night. I know you're going to hell because if you don't know God.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't accept the Lord, this is the last time me and you will ever kick it. This is your paradise right now. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I try so hard. Not beating it down their throats,
Mm-hmm.
but any way I can get them to come and say, listen, man, put this thought in your mind. You want to pray today? You want to talk to me? And I always ask God to keep my fire burning.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because without that fire, man, you feel cold. And I don't want to be cold.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? This journey ain't long. It'll be over before I know it. You know what I'm saying? I enjoy the Bible study, brother.
I enjoy hanging out here too.
I think the wife finally get me off the couch, huh? I was gonna say, but I know she was right, because I was gonna say, listen, we run all this. I just was gonna say it. We run all of this, man. We doing this. We can just rest on Wednesday. But I knew God had it on my heart to get up off that couch too.
Mm-hmm. And then remember this too, if they don't come to church, maybe, sometimes you have to be like Jesus, you have to take church to them. Just like what you're doing now, let that light shine, just drop those hints into you, so, into them, like, you know, you don't pray, don't you talk to the Lord, he would love to hear from you. You know, where you drop those things in encouragement, and then they wake up one morning and be like, and they put it, the Lord may put it on their heart, you know what, let me pray and talk to the Lord again. You know, those things become habit.
I seen one of my buddies that I was going home. He had hit a car. He's a nice dude. I like this guy, man. I like the brother. And I told my wife about it, and I had rolled by my beat the horn. He said, he didn't know it was me. He said, "Where's he going? I'm home." I'm looking at this guy like this out the window, like, okay. And then he called me before I got home. He called me. It takes me an hour to get home. And he called me on the phone. And said, "Hey," he said, "Hey, man, I'm sorry. I didn't know it was you. I heard the horn beep, and I thought it was somebody else." I said, "That's all right, bro." I said, "I was praying for you at the time." He said, "Okay." But when you say you praying for him, he's not saved. So he's like, okay, man. Like, it's a foreign language to him.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But when I got home, I told my wife, I said, imagine this man just hitting somebody in his car. He having the worstest day, you know what I mean, already. And he don't know God. You know what I mean? Where is he pulling this strength from? You see? We know God. And when we have a bad day, we should pray, Lord help us. Yeah. This guy, he prayed God.
Yeah.
So when I say, man, I'm praying for you, that sounds like a foreign language to this dude. Yeah, whatever. He don't pray God.
Trust me, it's a foreign language to a lot of other people too.
You see?
We're praying for them, okay, that's nice, okay. But,
Yeah, you get the same thing I
Yeah.
get. And I be looking at him like, brother, you don't even know what I told you.
I mean, you may not realize it, but that's all right. You ain't gonna stop me from praying. Because we just pray that one day you realize that while you were doing this, that when you fully understand it, that people took the time out to pray for you.
It's a blessing to have a friend that's a prayer warrior for you.
Mm-hmm.
Someone praying for you, man. They don't know. They don't understand.
Just
So
like
we
we,
working with basics here.
just like we understand, you know, mamas and grandmamas that were praying for us when we didn't have the sense to pray for ourselves.
Yeah.
We do the same thing for other people. That, you know, while you're here, we're gonna pray for you.
Yeah.
Because like I said, it takes time. I don't know when. Don't know, it may not ever happen. But it's not gonna stop us from praying, because you still have to make that decision. We just pray that the Lord would come onto your heart and it will be so intense that you just have to answer, that you just have to respond to it. You just have to answer and let the Lord in, and just cry out and ask the Lord to be your Lord and Savior. And so, like I said, we don't know a timetable on it, but if it's on our heart to do, pray for them. pray for everybody at the job, regardless if you're cool with them, talk to them or not. You pray for everybody, because right now what you're doing, you're planting. You know, the Bible tells us that one plant, one water, but God grants the increase. So you're planting, someone else may be nurturing, but when harvest time comes, somebody else may pull that in. But right now you're putting that in them and you're exposing them to it, to where when the time comes to harvest, somebody else comes to harvest it. But like I said, we're all going to be, the Lord's going to reward us for what we're doing. Because I guarantee you that, I'll probably say this, they may not come to church with you, but when you live in this life and you're encouraging them and when things happen and they have problems, they can come and talk to you about those problems, because you're not going to be like everybody else is. And those are those times where you're still dropping those hints in and you're ministering and you're doing things like that. And like I said, all you're doing is planning. All you're doing. That's all. And sometimes that's all we can do. That's maybe all we need to do in the situation. It says, plant, drop word here, drop this here. Well, what do you think I should do? Well, let me tell you what the Lord will do in this situation. Get your mind on that. Get your mind off what worldly things do. This is what the Lord will do. Go pray. Ask the Lord what you should do. Talk to him. You know, you may resist it, but eventually if I keep telling you, well, you know what, the Lord has this answer for you. Let him pray for you. Let him talk to you to guide you and direct you on what to do. Eventually you're going to start going to the Lord. He keeps talking about this all the time, and I see what things that happen in his life. Well, why are you so happy all the time? That's your opportunity, Lord. You know, the Lord's my life. Just, you know, you can be this happy too if you just invite the Lord to come in your life and listen to him and let him guide you.
Yeah.
So, like I say, all we're doing, they say sometimes you're in a situation, all you can do is just planning and just being that go-to to where you can get their mind on the Lord, because they're probably not getting it anywhere else. And so, like I say, once it gets in there and eventually it builds up, and when the time comes, the Lord will call them when the time comes.
You know what I do? From 5:30, I get to work at 5:30, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a big radio. Speakers big as my devil. I got to share it with this other brother, right? This other brother like this hard record rap, right? So first time we got in an argument. So we shut down the radio for 3 days, right? My boss came in and said, listen, we can't have this war. I said, all right, fine. Since I'm the boss, shut it down. So we shut it down for 3 days. It took me 3 days to figure out what I was going to do. Right? So after a while, I told the guys, what is it you want to hear? Because I'm going to work around your schedule. The guys, I want to hear Steve Harvey, and I want to hear my rap music from 12 something, from 1 o'clock to something. I said, okay, fine. I said, give me the radio from 5:30 to 6 o'clock. From 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock, you can have it. He said, that long? I said, that's Steve Harvey, 4 hours, right? He said, yeah. I said, I said, I'll take it back from 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock. I said, that's booty. I need that. He said, okay. I said, then you can have the radio back from 12 o'clock to 2:30. I said, at 2:30, there's a little station called the Bell. I like to mellow out at the end of the day before I go home, because I'm always worked up. I said, is that all right with you? I said, I want the radio only 2 hours on the radio. The rest of the 8 hours, we were here 10 hours. The rest of the 8 hours, you can have it. Can you work with me on that? I said, oh, you will. But see, for 2 hours, he's getting gospel. He's getting the word of God. And he knows what he's doing. You see what I'm saying? I get you early in the morning, I get you in the afternoon, and I mellow you out before you go home to your family.
Yeah.
So I took it. And the owner said, fine, it works. You know, because if it worked, they say, fine, it works. And that's how we do it. And I do it like that for the last 10 years. I've been working like that.
Told you don't need a lot. The Lord don't need a lot to do a lot.
No, I don't.
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised the things the Lord uses to get people's attention. You know, you're doing it with the radio. You even get people, because you know, everybody that come to church ain't come here to hear words. Some people came, you know, some people come to criticize what's going on. Some people came because they saw somebody that looked good and they wondered what they're doing here.
Yeah.
And while you trying to work on them, the Lord working on you. And so, you know, when it comes to strategy, the Lord's next to none. He just tops on everything.
awesome.
And so he'll use whatever he has to use and whatever motive he gotta use. You know, not no sinful motive, but he'll use your own stuff against you. And you don't even know it, and the Lord's just steady working on you and speaking to your heart and stuff, so.
Yeah, but that brother now, he's a marshmallow, man.
Mhm.
When I first met him, he was a firecracker. That dude
Yeah,
was a-
you see the change, you see the change.
I've been playing Dr. Charles Stanley, Tony Evans,
Mm-hmm.
and at the end of the day, when he all hyped up, I calmed it down with a dove. Dove just looked slow music, loud, it was just hollow music. Now you can hear him sing. And people don't know. He said, that dude's a nice little guy. He wasn't always like that. That was a mean little devil boy. Now he got a little, now he carries a thing that says, I love Jesus on his keychain. I seen it. I didn't say nothing, I just looked at it. Okay. I said, okay. But I was so happy. You hear me?
That's what I say, it's a process.
Yeah, but first he went to the big owners and told the owners I was a brainwasher. Oh yeah, man. I had to go in front of my bosses. They said, Symbols, what are you doing? That's why I said, I just need some time. And I shut that radio down for 3 days. I said, Lord, give me peace, wisdom, and understanding. And the third day, Lord, let my mind clear. This is how we're going to do this. Compromise. Now, 10 years later, we still run the same system.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, you're not getting it all the time, but we're gonna give you a little bit at a time. Where you get to listen to your stuff, but I'm still gonna feed you. Still gonna feed you the Lord. And then, like I said, it's all the processes. The Lord's in no rush. He's not rushing it. Like I said, that's why the world tells us, let patience have its perfect work. So it took 10 years. You see a difference from 10 years. So that's like with most people. It's gonna take a while to deprogram all the stuff that's been programmed into us.
It does, my brother.
So.
It does.
So that's what I say, we don't get, we want people, we would love for you to accept the Lord now, but we understand it's not gonna happen for everybody. And so, but it doesn't stop us from, we still planning, we're still doing what we do. Gradually it happens, and then one day you see the difference. You see the change.
I see a change now.
See?
Thanks God, man. I'm glad we were good brothers now. Good
Mhm.
friends too now. We wasn't like that at first, bro.
Yeah.
It's 8:50.
Yeah. So, yeah, plus we got, I started a little bit late too. You was just staying for like an hour. So, but I thank God for the lesson, thank the Lord for you coming.
Yes.
Oh, he's back next Wednesday, guys.
Yeah, so, yeah, come
We
through,
need
doors
Bible
open.
study.
Doors open, so we're here. Not sure what next lesson is. I'll send it out once I see what it is. But once again, just thank y'all for coming here. Thank everybody who will be watching. And we'll pray, and then we'll be dismissed. All right. So if all hearts and minds are clear, let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you once again for allowing us to be into your house one more time. We thank you for our life, health, and strength, Father. We thank you for protecting us from danger seen and unseen. And Lord, we ask that you forgive us once again for any sins that we committed. We thank you for this lesson tonight, Lord, about momentum, about making sure that we're staying moving, staying racing toward the finish line, toward this goal that you have for us here, Father God. And to understand that there will be things that will slow us down. There will be things that may stop us momentarily. But that we would keep our mind on you, that we would ask you, search you, make sure that we get understanding on how to handle those situations, how to handle grief, how to handle the heartache, the pain, loss in our finances, or anything else that's going on, that we will search your wisdom so we can go by your word so that we will get the results that will glorify you, Father God, and so that we can get back on track, so that we may not be a hindrance to not only to you, but to anyone else that we come in contact with. Lord, we just thank you for this lesson as a reminder and a refresher about staying moving forward and making sure that whatever we do, that you get the glory out of, and that we're able to impact lives no matter how long it takes, because we know that in the end you will get the glory out of all of it. And Lord, we just thank you once again for the lesson. We thank you once again for those who are here, for those who have desired to be here and couldn't, and those who will be watching. Lord, we ask that you will watch over and touch those families who are sick or in bereavement right now, Lord. That you will let them know that you are the comforter, that you are a healer, and that no matter what's happened, that you are always in control, and you always will be, Father God. And Lord, if you delay your return, that we will see each other again next week, Father God. Lord, we ask that you will bless us indeed, enlarge our territory, that your hand will be with us to keep us from evil, so we don't cause pain. Lord, you bless us, you keep us. Your face shines upon us, you're gracious unto us, you lift your countenance upon us, and you give us peace. So Lord, we invite you to rise up, to let your enemies be scattered, and let those that hate you flee before you. Amen?
Amen.
Amen.